What's up, everybody? It's your Uncle Ed, and we're back. And this time we have the OG of real estate. Mr. Pete Cullen is in the house today, and we're going to talk about real estate and what's going on, particularly in the areas that he serves, which is the Santa Cruz and Monterey area. And he's got a lot of really fascinating, interesting information. So, hello to you,
Hello,
Senor
Ed.
Cullen.
How are you?
I'm doing good, dude, man. Just watching this year go by like a Japanese bullet train.
Oh my
Can you,
gosh.
I mean, we're going into August, right? It's
Well,
nutty.
yeah, as Brian Buffini says, the days are long and the years are short. And we get Stephen Covey reminds us we get caught up in the thick of thin things, and so it's important to keep our focus on what matters.
100%, 100%. So your background is really interesting, Pete, because not only have you been an agent forever, which I'll ask you how many years that is in a second, but you also have a construction and a project management background, which I would think makes you very unique in this business. Tell us how many years you've been actually as a real estate professional.
So I'm 22 years as a
Wow.
licensed realtor and about 15 years as a broker associate. Got my broker's license about 15 years ago. I'm committed, passionate about what I do. I love what I do. One of the things I love about real estate is it really gives us an environment to be lifelong learners, work on personal growth, professional development, and real estate really encourages all of that.
Yeah.
I moved to Santa Cruz in 1972 as a 20-year-old. Went to a couple of years of junior college, then got into production framing, working over the hill, building apartment buildings, condominiums, and being a framer and a carpenter in and out of the union. During that time, was able to actually get my degree at UCSC in Latin American Studies. So I did get my BA there. And then after about 30 years of building, I was essentially a contractor, um, carrying tools around, schlepping tools around. I thought, I don't want to be doing this for the rest of my life. So I got my real estate license. And I started, at first I was a contractor with a real estate license.
Right.
And then
Right.
eventually within about 5 years I had really, and I came into real estate in an interesting time, 2004. Everything was going crazy, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And by the time I kind of figured it out, it was 2008. So I got to be somewhat tested in fire as things really started going. So I experienced a short sale market, I
Yeah.
experienced the foreclosure market, all the, the Great Recession, and then really built my business after that.
Yeah.
So it's been a journey, and as you pointed out, it is a unique skill set, especially working with buyers, to be able to look at a property as a builder. And not only can I help you buy this house, I could build that house.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of fun. It's a different perspective than your average realtor.
Well, and you have different eyes on it too, because you see things that other agents wouldn't see because you have that background. So every little thing you're looking at, you're almost kind of like a contractor, appraiser, and realtor all into one.
Well, I need to be careful about that too, because it is, I don't want to be held to the standards of a contractor or an architect, even though I get to play one on TV.
Right.
But I will say the other value that I bring is a cast of thousands. As I like to
Mm.
say, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. I have an incredible network of subcontractors, vendors, service providers, to your point, architects, designers, whatever it is. And one of the things we really pride ourselves on is our after sale service.
Mm.
So a lot of times when we're closing escrow, it's kind of like it's been fun, and as you know, going through the escrow process, you get to really know people at a very deep, intimate
Big
level.
time.
Okay. And then all of a sudden it's over. What we really focus on is staying in touch with our clients after the sale and being a resource for them. Guess what? You need a painter, a landscaper, a roofer. We got you. We can recommend somebody that we know that we work with that's going to show up and do a good job.
Yeah, no, that's huge. So tell me about the Santa Cruz and Monterey markets right now. I mean, we're like I said, we're going into August. Let's just say that we've been through half of the year already. What are you seeing? And are you seeing any trends?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest trend is that we've seen a real shift in the past year or so from very, very little inventory. We averaged about 125 homes on the market on any given day. That number is now 450. So we've essentially tripled our inventory. But the other
Exactly.
dynamic of that is there's still a lot of properties that are sitting.
Hmm.
And what we're seeing right now is that buyers are much more informed, they're much pickier, and they're much more willing to negotiate. That being said, there are still really beautiful properties that are commanding a premium. A place just sold over 700,000 over asking over on the west side of Santa Cruz, another one 500 over asking in the Seabright neighborhood. And yet we have a beach listing where we've sold about five properties right on the sand in La Selva Beach. This house took us 2 years to get into escrow after numerous price reductions and really marketing the heck out of this property. I think we've held over 50 open houses. We've promoted it. You've promoted it for us.
Yeah.
So it's not for any lack of exposure. It's just that, and the other dynamic is that what type of house are you talking about? If it's a discretionary second home beach property, people are not as inclined to go after that as they are for something that's a primary
Yeah.
residence, that's turnkey and ready to go. So I mean that's so there's a lot of dichotomy there. And the other thing that's interesting, we serve both Santa Cruz and Monterey markets, and the culture is very similar. You've got about 1,300 agents in Santa Cruz, you got about 1,300 agents in Monterey. You do have the Pebble Beach market in Monterey and Carmel, which is absolutely unique because we don't have the 15 to $35 million properties
Right.
here in Santa Cruz that they do. So that if
That's
you
true.
take that dynamic out, our markets are very similar. We have the way I'm describing the market right now is it's volatile and it's pockety. And by that I mean there are pockets of activity where things are busy, and there's pockets where things are kind of languishing. And then there's a lot of volatility. As I said, you've got stuff going way over asking with multiple offers. We helped a client get into a place on the west side a couple of months ago, seven offers, 300 over asking. This was a little three-bedroom, two-bath, single family. Nothing spectacular about this house, but it was in a good walkable neighborhood. That's the other thing that people are really keying in on. They want walkability. They want
Hmm.
to be able to walk to the coffee shop,
Yeah.
go to Cat and Cloud, go to Verve, be able to walk to New Leaf, walk down to the surf. And the
Yeah.
other dynamic that's always been fascinating to me is the Pleasure Point market and the surf culture. We've got a lot of folks coming from the Santa Clara Valley. They want to be by the beach and they want to surf. And they want to surf and then they want to go hang out at the coffee shop and
I mean, that's what it's known for, right?
live the Santa Cruz lifestyle.
Totally.
It's
Exactly.
and
The
it is
Santa
a
Cruz
very
lifestyle.
unique. As I said, I moved here in 72. I was an avid surfer for over 20 years. Then got into mountain biking. And that's the other thing about this community. It is world-class surfing, sailing, kayaking. We've got the Monterey Bay Marine
Oh,
Sanctuary.
yeah.
We've
Absolutely.
got a unique culture here. You've got the outrigger canoes. You got the Wednesday night sailboat races.
Mm.
You've got some of the best golf on the planet. Pasatiempo Golf Course, designed by the guy that designed Augusta, is
Oh,
right up
wow.
the hill. And that brings people in from all over the world. My friend's a starter up there, actually, and he interacts with people coming in from all over the world. And
Mm.
if they're going to go play Pebble Beach, they're going to play Pasatiempo. So we've got world-class golf, world-class, all of these ocean sports. And then you've got
Yeah.
the University of California, Santa Cruz, which
Yeah.
is one of the premier research organizations on the planet. They've been working on the human genome, a cure
Yep.
for cancer. And I am a slug. I'm a graduate of UCSC. As you know, the banana slugs is
Right.
our mod, our mascot. And
Right.
you got to love that, right? Only in Santa Cruz, but it is an incredible, I mean, just it's a magical place. You're ensconced in redwood forests,
Yeah. It's what
striking.
I call postcard living, man. It's like you're in a postcard.
It really is. And you guys get to enjoy it too, right? Our associate Craig Adams and I talk about this all the time, how blessed we are to live in, Central California on the coast,
Oh,
whether you're in Marin or San Francisco or Half Moon Bay or Santa Cruz or Monterey.
Yeah, it's all God's country, man. It's
It
beautiful. Yeah,
really is.
yeah,
I mean, like how did we end up being so blessed to actually live here? It is a
completely agree.
gift and a blessing.
Yeah, completely agree. What do you think? What's your prediction? What do you think is going to happen in these real estate trends between now and the end of the year?
I think we're going to have a good summer.
Okay.
I'm optimistic. I think unless something, dramatic happens on a global scale, I am coached by a company called Buffini and Company, and they coach 20. So there's 3 million realtors in the United States, and or 3 million real estate practitioners, 1.5 million realtors, 1.5 million licensees. Out of that group, Buffini and Company coaches about 20,000 agents, and as a group, we sell 1 out of 8 homes in the United States.
Oh well.
So one of the other value propositions we provide is a network of agents all over the country. I just actually got a referral from a guy in Virginia this morning. So I'm connected with other like-minded agents that share our values. And that's a huge, it's a huge resource. And I think that, Brian's prognostication early in the year was it was going to be a great spring selling season. Who knew we would end up invading Iraq? Okay, so there are global, big picture things happening that do
Yeah.
affect our market, even locally. But I think going forward, I expect from all the professionals like you in the mortgage industry that probably rates are going to kind of hover around where they are. I don't think we're going to see any gigantic drops, but I think the other thing is, my broker Robert Bailey has a great quote. Life happens.
Yeah.
Okay? People
Every
have
day.
kids, people have to move, people get new jobs. I mean, there's a myriad of things that happen in our lives that are going to trigger a real estate transaction.
100%.
And I like to say I have a good friend of mine, she does reverse mortgages. And, rather than say downsizing, her phrase is right sizing, which I love. What is the right size for you? And sometimes that's a bigger house, sometimes it's a smaller house, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, it's a new house.
Yeah.
Uh,
You're
so
right.
I think that, that is always going to be happening. You're never going to replace this lifestyle. And the other thing is, it's not easy to build in the Bay Area. It's not easy to build in Santa Cruz, in Monterey. There's a limited amount of finite resource when it comes to land. And dealing with the governmental agencies is time consuming and expensive.
Yeah.
So even if you go out and hire the best professionals, it's probably a 2-year endeavor by the time you're actually breaking ground. By the time you go through plans and permits and fees and actually hiring a contractor and going through that entire process. So people come to me all the time, hey, I want to buy a lot and build a house. That might not be your best strategy. You might
Yeah.
be better off, if you really want to get hands-on, go find a major fixer-upper where you've got your utilities in place. It's a plug
Agreed.
and play, as opposed to bare land where you've got to bring in utilities. You got to bring in water,
Yeah.
sewer,
People have
power.
no idea how involved that can get.
They have no clue.
Yeah.
And as a previous builder, I will tell you, it's a stressful decision-making
Yeah.
process that tests couples and tests individuals.
And
So,
wallets
and wallets,
and
yeah.
patience.
Well, it's really true. It's like when we would remodel houses, we're going to come in, we're going to turn your life upside down, we're going to ask you to make a million decisions, and we're going to dig into your wallet. How's that working for you? So
Right.
so I
No,
think
it's so true.
that's part of what's driving this turnkey. You got two wage earners, maybe two people in tech, raising a couple of kids. Do they have time to take on a project? They barely have time to live their lives.
Yeah.
So, we want to find them a house that suits their needs and it's turnkey.
Yeah, no, that's great. So on that note, do you see any areas in Santa Cruz and Monterey that are good buys right now, especially for maybe a first-time home buyer?
I think in Santa Cruz, historically, the San Lorenzo Valley, which is basically Boulder Creek, Ben Lomond, Felton, has been one of the more affordable markets. Watsonville, South County is also, it's a much
Mm,
more agrarian.
yep.
There's a lot of berry farms, there's a lot of agriculture down there. It's more rural, it's kind of semi-rural, and that doesn't work for everybody, but there can sometimes be some good value out there. The other thing that's fascinating is that really how similar Monterey and Santa Cruz are in that we have these little pockets. So in Monterey, you've got the high-end properties, you've got Pebble Beach, you've got, all these kind of amazing neighborhoods, but there's also good value in Marina, Seaside. They're building like crazy at Fort Ord. So,
Yeah, that's right.
there's great opportunity there to get into a brand new home at probably a pretty reasonable price. And those houses are gaining value exponentially year over year.
Yeah,
So places that were selling 5 years ago under 1 million are now well over 1 million. So you're seeing a lot of value there. And once again, to the kind of fix and flip opportunity, if you can find a property in Marina that has deferred maintenance, there's a real opportunity there to add value, especially
mm,
you take a young family where the guy's a contractor. Well, he can move into a house like that and he can really add value and create value. And so
great
that's one of the
advice.
things I really try and encourage, younger folks to look into, how hands-on are you? If it's just a cosmetic fixer, hey, we can help you. I got the carpet person, I got the painter, minor remodel stuff. We can help you. So I think looking at those properties a little different perspective. So yeah, I think definitely in Santa Cruz, you look at the San Lorenzo Valley. The West Side historically has always commanded a higher price.
Yeah,
It's by the university. One of the dynamics there is you had a lot of student rentals. Right now, they're currently building a huge residential complex for Cabrillo and UCSC right down on
mm,
Cabrillo's campus. So I think that's going to take quite a bit of the pressure off the west side. It may even impact prices over there because historically, you've had two or three college kids living in a bedroom in a
yeah,
three-bedroom house. You got 9 kids in there, each paying close to 1,000 a month. And if you're the landlord, you're doing real good with that scenario. Well, if these kids have a better option, because there just hasn't been housing at the university, then that ultimately I think is going to, kind of put a different dynamic on that West Side market. And then Seabright is a very unique, we call it the Hamptons of Santa Cruz.
hmm,
And it's a lot of multi-generational families that came over from Fresno and Merced and Stockton 150 years ago and bought beach cottages. And those have now been, just passed on generation after generation. And it's a very, very beautiful, beautiful area right by the San Lorenzo River. And it's
yeah.
kind of between the Santa Cruz Boardwalk and the Santa Cruz Yacht Harbor.
I see. Okay.
And
Yeah, beautiful area.
one thing that I like to do with people that aren't familiar with Santa Cruz is take them on a Google Maps tour. So I'll get on the computer, they get on the computer, we both open up Google Maps and I say, okay, we're going to start on the west side. So this is Long's Marine Lab, and then this is the west side. And here's the Swift Street shopping area. And then here's the boardwalk. And now here's Seabright. And it gives them a feel for kind of the culture and the vibe and what's walkable, what's drivable. And then we are Silicon Beach, right? We got a
Yeah,
lot of people coming
yeah.
over from Santa Clara, Los Gatos. It's 20 minutes to Los Gatos without traffic, max. I mean,
Hmm.
I can get in my car and I can be at the coffee shop in Los Gatos in 20 minutes.
Wow, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean that's a pretty powerful dynamic. And then
It
you've got
is.
a lot of people that live here and work at Google or Apple or LinkedIn
Totally.
or so a lot of tech here. And then we've
Yeah.
got Joby here, which is the flying cars. So we've got a lot of tech here in Santa Cruz. The Borland campus up in Scotts Valley is where basically Philippe Kahn came up with the idea of a camera in a phone. He was at his daughter's delivery of her baby and was thinking about taking a picture and he grabs his cell phone and he was thinking, well, why not have a camera and a phone? And he founded a company called Starfish and the rest is history. But there's a lot of technology, a lot of innovation here, and we have an incredible music culture as well. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
our arts culture is amazing. So, as my tagline is, love living by the Monterey Bay, love living in Santa Cruz. I moved here as a 20-year-old. I'm going to be 74 this year. Kind of, how did that happen? Um,
Quickly, huh?
yes, indeed. But
Yeah.
I'm passionate about what I do, as I said, and
And you're very good at it too, Pete.
I love what I do.
Yeah, no, definitely. What recommendations do you give for people that are looking to buy or sell
I
in
think the
your
first
areas?
recommendation I would give to a buyer is to talk to a great mortgage professional. Okay. I mean, that really is the key. It's the beginning of the process. And a lot of people say, well, I'm not ready. And I say, well, there's only one way to get ready, and that's get ready to get ready. Talk to an Ed Diaz. Have him set up a plan for you, a roadmap to get you to pre-approval. Because in the market that we're in, we're not writing an offer without a pre-approval letter. Okay, that's a non-starter. So any new person, and then once you've spoken with that person, figure out what you're comfortable with your payment. Like, what's your budget? You don't want your house to own you. Okay. At the
Correct.
end of the day, well, yeah, you can afford this, but is that really where you want to be? So I think really that's the most important thing, I think, is getting the buyers, clear on what's their budget. And then I really focus on neighborhood. You can't change the neighborhood. And so a lot of times we start working with buyers. Well, I want to look at this house, this house, this house, this house. Take a Saturday, go drive around and figure out, is this an area you even would want to be in? Go visit some open houses. The dynamic of how we show property, Ed, has completely shifted. I have
Yeah.
not had a client in my car in 7 years. Okay. Buyers, they're looking on the internet, they're going to open houses, they're calling an agent after they've decided this is a house we actually want to write an offer on. So it's a very different dynamic working with
Yeah, it
buyers. And
is.
then our business is really based on referral. We want to do such an amazing job that you become our raving advocate and refer us to your friends and family. And as far as selling, I think the most important thing is really getting your house prepared properly for market and pricing it right. At the end of the day, you only get one chance to make a first impression. And it's all about curb
So true.
appeal, and it's all about having it priced well. I'm a stickler for verbiage. I write all our own property descriptions, and I have literally seen, verbiage in the MLS, double pane windows spelled PAIN. Okay, so at least do your spell check, folks. And and I have fun with it. I write a good description. I'm a writer as well, and I like to think of myself as a pretty decent communicator. How the property is presented is everything.
True.
So curb appeal and photos. We always do professional photos. We do drones. We do video tours. So I think all of those things, as a buyer's agent, get on the right path with a good lender. As a listing agent, let us be your project manager. Let us guide you
Mhm.
through the home selling process and help us get your home sold in the least amount of time for the most amount of money.
Well, excellent advice on both sides. Man, spoken from the mouth of an absolute pro who's been doing this for a long time. Now, my final question is, how do people get a hold of you, Pete?
So the best way to get a hold of me is just to give me a call on my cell phone, 831-818-1662. However clients want to be communicated with is how we communicate. I have an amazing business partner, Tara Fayok. She and I have been working together since COVID. We are a partnership, we're a team. So one of the benefits of that is if I'm out of town, Tara's available. If Tara's out of town, I'm available.
Excellent.
We're all about communication. So once again, 831-818-1662. And my email is pete@petecullen.com. You can also check out my Google business page. I've got, I think, close to 50 five-star reviews. We do our absolute best to exceed our clients' expectations and have them become our raving advocates.
Yeah. And I know you well, and that is 100% the truth spoken from you. So thank you very, very much for jumping on and for giving us all this information because it was packed with really a lot of goodies. As you can see, folks, look, he knows his stuff. And he, after so many years, is still a humble servant. And he is the guy, if you're looking to move into that area, I could not recommend him higher. Give him a call today, get set up, start to look at things, start to plan, right, your future, because the future is coming quickly, as you know, and things are
Well,
changing all the time. So don't let opportunity go by. Thank you so much again, Pete. You have a
thank
great
you, Ed.
weekend.
And once again, I really appreciate everything you do
Thanks, man.
as as a connector, as an advocate for your profession, our profession. I'm blessed to have you in my life.
Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you, man. Same here. And, look, we believe in what we do. This is not about sales. This is about changing people's lives. And, buying real estate will change your life. Whether you've done it already or not,
Yep.
it's going to change your finances. It's going to change your relationship with the IRS. It's going to change your legacy, wealth building, time. And, time goes by quick. Look, we're past the halfway mark already in 2026. So do not delay. Call Pete today. Oh, and that rhymed actually. I didn't mean for it to rhyme. Have a great
Perfect.
weekend, and we will do this again, Pete. Thank you so much, buddy.
Awesome. Thanks, Ed. I appreciate you. Have a
Be
wonderful day.
well. Bye bye.
Blessings.